Is it moral to kill the Mechanist? In yesterday's video, we explored the RoboBrain production facility that we found underneath the Robco Sales and Service Center. The facility had long been abandoned until someone calling himself the Mechanist arrived and took control. When we finally enter the Mechanist's sanctum, the Mechanist greets us with high-sounding words, and then we have to fight his robots. However, there is a way to get to the Mechanist while bypassing all of his robots, which I showed off in yesterday's video. But today, we shall meet the Mechanist face to face.
You may have infiltrated my sanctum and destroyed my robots, but your reign of terror ends here.
Wait. My reign of terror?
The Commonwealth has suffered more than its fair share of injustices because of you. Now you'll face the full might of the Mechanist. My righteous robots will end your tyranny once and for all.
The Mechanist then hurls all of his robots at you. The Mechanist also comes with unique dialogue if you come to the battle wearing the Silver Shroud costume. You can speak as Shroud, one superhero to another, or one superhero to one supervillain, depending on your perspective. I did a video recording all of that dialogue, which you can see here. There are many phases to this battle, each punctuated by power problems in the facility. The Mechanist is having a hard time providing the facility with enough power to manufacture all of his robots. If you manage to survive his robot attack, the facility finally runs out of power.
This is a Dover scourge. I will not rest until I see the Commonwealth free of you.
Why are you accusing me of being a bad guy?
You've destroyed my robot allies. They seek to save the people of the Commonwealth, and yet you deliberately stand in their way.
You're confused. It's obvious. We need to talk this out, face to face.
We're speaking now. Besides, do you truly think I'd leave the safety of my command center?
I'm not a villain. I just want you to hear me out. Face to face.
To what end? So you can crush me as you crushed my allies? I watched you survive what should have been a guaranteed attempt to stop you.
Good people listen. If you were making a grave mistake, you'd want to know the truth.
Very well. I will hear you out. But only for the sake of the Commonwealth. Sparks, with me!
Now this video is about whether or not it's moral to kill the Mechanist. To answer this question, we need to find out more about the Mechanist and his motives for attacking the Commonwealth. Therefore, before we can make a decision, we must first talk with the Mechanist.
Let us discuss this amicably.
Fine, but no more hiding. If you want to talk, we do this face to face.
You're right. It's time I faced the true enemy of the Commonwealth.
There. Now we both know who we're dealing with.
You think I'm the enemy here? I may have busted up your robots, but they're just machines. And they're killing real people out there.
Only people that threaten the safety of the Commonwealth. They'd never harm an innocent person. The robots are programmed to protect. Their subroutines are clean. Observe, evaluate, and react accordingly. The testing was thorough. I ran every scenario. All passed.
Hey, I'm not the enemy. I'm the one trying to protect the Commonwealth against your robots.
They have taken innocent lives. My friends, they were simple traitors, all dead at the hands of your robots.
That can't be right. Explain yourself.
They're misinterpreting orders. Your own RoboBrain said as much. They're saving people by killing them.
No, I don't believe you. They can't alter their programming. They're programmed to save people, not kill them.
Are you listening to me? They are saving people by killing them.
A deadly misinterpretation.
I am listening. I'm just processing. So many precautions and safeguards.
How can you not know what they're doing? You must have some way of watching them.
My bots have never violated their protocol. Their data dumps only show the elimination of hostile encounters.
Think about it. There's probably a reason these robots weren't in mass production.
The introduction of a human brain creates too many unknown variables. You can't claim to know them all.
I took all the necessary precautions. Innocent lives should never be taken. And the data. They were always reporting hostiles killed and lives Saved. No, it's the logic. It's there. I can see it now. I was hoping it was the Robo-Brains, an issue with their memory wipes. But you're right. Their primary directive was flawed.
The Robo-Brains require memory wipes?
Yes. The human brain has a way of rewiring itself. If not properly maintained, it can corrupt.
Is that even ethical? Not only are you using human brains, but you're wiping them too?
In retrospect, I can see the adversity, but this was breakthrough science, a huge advance for robotics. Why waste a resource that someone died for? Yes, it's a skewed outlook, but it gives that life meaning. Potentially, over 200 years in preservation may have made them more susceptible to corruption.
Corrupt? That's the understatement of the year. They're killing machines.
I take every precaution. The risk is minimal.
That sounds like a serious flaw. And a dangerous one at that.
It is, but the process is thorough. They're wiped after each mission. I found it's best not to let them recall what they've been through.
Well, your technicality cost a lot of innocent people their lives.
The hero unknowingly became the villain. Judging from the numbers in the data dump, if even a small percentage are innocents.
Your plan backfired. If you're telling the truth, this was one costly accident.
It is the truth. I only ever wanted to make the Commonwealth a safer place. I grew up on a settlement. I've seen how good people struggle against raiders and super mutants. I'd never want to be counted among them.
Maybe that's why you don't stick human brains in robots.
I wanted to help the Commonwealth. And robots are all I know.
Tell me, why the mask? What's with the Mechanist?
I'm not good with people. The Mechanist gave me a way to put myself out there without really being out there at all. I found this place and figured I could finally do my part. I accept full responsibility. I can't take back what I've done, or even atone for it. But this doesn't have to end in violence.
This kind of throws a crowbar in all of our plans. We expected to fight our way through this facility, reach the end, and then defeat the boss. But this woman is remorseful. It's clear that she did not intend to kill any innocents. That said, we can kill her anyway.
That's where you're wrong, Mechanist. The only way this ends is with violence.
Damn it. I should have known that was coming.
If we choose this option, she pops a stealth boy, and then she and her iBot pet Sparks attack you.
Gotta keep going. No.
Hopefully, that's the last of them.
Once you manage to kill her, you can then take control of the facility and then talk with Ada.
You've done it. You stopped the Mechanist.
The Mechanist is dead. Think that's too harsh a punishment?
It was the right course of action. Given the opportunity, who's to say the past wouldn't repeat itself? It does not bring back my friends. But if not for their deaths, the Mechanist may still be alive, posing a threat to the Commonwealth.
The Mechanist deserved to die. You don't pose a great threat to the Commonwealth and get to live.
A just end for the pain and suffering inflicted.
Naturally, Ada is glad that the Mechanist is dead. She uses the word justice. She certainly feels like justice has been performed. After all, the Mechanist killed all of her friends, the man who programmed her, the closest thing she had to a family. And yet the world of Fallout 4 is not a world of institutionalized justice. Vigilante justice, certainly. And killing the Mechanist is indeed vigilante justice. But once the Mechanist realizes her mistake, she stops sending robots into the Commonwealth. The threat is gone. There is no one here to witness you killing her. There is no one here to see justice done. So I wonder if vigilante justice is appropriate in this case. If you choose to let her live, she thanks you.
I'm not here to kill you, only to get you and your robots to stand down.
Done. Consider it done. And you won't regret this. I promise. None of the Commonwealth will. Here, take this. It's the password to the mainframe. You can use it to shut down the security protocols. I'd rather this place be in your hands now. I should have been more thorough.
With her key in hand, you can head up the ramp and take control of the facility. It's interesting to note that the terminal calls this a Robco facility. However, we learned in yesterday's video that it was actually General Atomics employees that were running it until they were all pushed out by the United States military. So I wonder what Robco used this facility for before they gave it over to General Atomics and the military. Probably to create Protectrons and Assaultrons for retail distribution. Once you turn off the security protocol, the lights come back on, and all of the little robo-brains around you come to life, clicking and clacking at their keyboards. Now you can destroy these robo-brains, but once they're gone, they're gone. And oddly enough, the clicking and clacking sound effect never stops, even if all the little robo-brain robots are destroyed. You now have control of the Mechanist's lair, and you can turn it into a settlement. The next time you go back to Isabel, you see that she's changed into a green jumpsuit.
Hey, just one more thing, if you have a minute.
Sure. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Isabel. That's my name. Isabel Cruz. I just wanted to say I'm really happy, thankful that you've let me stick around here. And in order to show you that I'm done with the past, I want you to have this as a sort of promise, I guess. It's the Mechanist suit I made.
The Mechanist costume is an interesting piece. It's a full suit of armor, kind of like caged armor, and it has some decent stats. Good for mid-game, but not end-game. I believe the Silver Shroud costume, when fully upgraded, is better, and the final level of the Railroad Jacket is better than all of them. But it's a decent set. Alternatively, if you kill her, you get the unique weapon Protectron's Gaze. The only other way to get it is by pickpocketing her.
You don't have to do that.
I want to. I need to move on, and this just seemed the right way to handle it.
You really don't want it anymore?
No. It's part of a past I don't want to dwell on. It's time I move on.
Isabel Cruz then becomes a merchant. She doesn't have a very large inventory, however she does sell a wide array of scrap, junk, and salvage. She's a great asset to have if you're into settlement building. Finally, you can turn and talk to Ada.
Your return is a relief. I trust the outcome was what you wanted.
Would you be disappointed to hear that I let her live?
I do have conflicting outlooks if that is the case. But I trust your judgment. If she lives, she does so with the guilt of what she's done.
She truly wanted to help people. She didn't know what the robo-brains were doing. To her, a life saved was a life saved.
A biological wild card. The unknowns are vast. She had to know the risk she was taking by creating them. Many good people endured suffering and death because of the Mechanist. It's a shame a mind as brilliant as hers allowed such atrocities to be committed.
Think it was a mistake to let her live?
It would be disrespectful of my friend's memory if I were to say yes. I'm uncertain if my logic protocols could override my personality subroutines had the decision been in my hands. Though my personality programming harbors feelings of revenge, my friends taught me mercy, and mercy can have very powerful effects.
She had good intentions. She was simply misled.
Even good intentions need checks and balances.
She's good at heart. She made a mistake. A big one. And she'll live with that guilt.
I believe I have a certain understanding when it comes to guilt. While it's not the justice I had hoped for, it will suffice. Still, I now know that the death of my friends has brought about a safer Commonwealth. Had the Mechanist's robots remained unchecked, I'm certain that damage would have been extensive, halting, if not reversing, any progress that has been made here. With this knowledge, I am finally registering feelings of satisfaction and accomplishment. And I have you to thank for it.
Ada mentions mercy. She clearly wanted revenge, and she admits that she doesn't know if she could have restrained herself had she been in your shoes, but her family taught her mercy. And she recognizes that even though this may not be just in her eyes, leaving Isabel alive is certainly merciful. But is leaving her alive the right decision? After all, she could be lying. Maybe she recognized that the sole survivor was stronger than she was, and the sole survivor could snuff her out at any moment. And maybe in a desperate act of self-preservation, she lied and made up this story about it being accidental, about not knowing what her robots were really doing. If only we could read her mind. We can learn more about Isabel's true motives by exploring her personal room. Heading out of the control room and through a doorway to the left, we can turn right to find her private bedroom. Inside, we find the iBot pod schematics. You can now build iBot pods at any of your settlements. We also find cartoony Mechanist posters hanging up all over the place. On the table next to her bed, we find the drawing of the Mechanist, but interestingly, this picture is signed DP. Isabel's name is Isabel Cruz. Her initials are IC. Who could DP possibly be? This is a direct reference to Fallout 3. In Fallout 3, when you arrive at a town called Canterbury Commons, you see a confrontation between someone called the Antagonizer and the Mechanist.
No match for my army.
The citizens of this town have nothing to fear. The Mechanist is here to protect them.
In this town, we find a small boy wearing a red baseball cap named Derek Passion. While everyone in the town is annoyed by the fights between the Mechanist and the Antagonizer, young Derek, at the tender age of 15, thinks it's exciting and fun.
The Antagonizer, she's this evil supervillain who's trying to wipe out humans with her ants. And the Mechanist protects us with his robots. And when they fight in town, it's incredible. There's all these lasers and biting and blood, and it's crazy.
He's actually responsible for convincing the Mechanist to become the Mechanist. The Mechanist was originally a man named Scott, who simply repaired faulty electronics in town. When the Antagonizer came to town, it was Derek Passion who convinced Scott to don the helm of the Mechanist and face off against the Antagonizer. Now, Derek tells us that he spends his time drinking soda and drawing pictures of the Mechanist. This drawing of the Mechanist that we find in Isabel Cruz's private quarters must be one of those drawings. It's signed by DP, and the costume has a striking resemblance to not only the costume that Isabel Cruz made for herself, but the original costume that Scott, the original Mechanist, made for himself. How did Isabel get her hands on the personal drawings of Derek? Well, near to this drawing is a holotape. The holotape contains personal diary records that Isabel wrote to herself when she first discovered the RoboBrain production facility. It was these posters drawn by Derek Passion that inspired her to create her own Mechanist costume and turn the robots of this facility loose upon the Commonwealth, in her mind, to do good. She said that she found these drawings, and she says that when she wears the Mechanist costume, she feels confident. She's clearly an antisocial person, probably an introvert, but when she dons the costume, she gets the courage she needs to fight evil. Now, when we talk with Isabel Cruz, she tells us that she used to live on a simple farm. It's likely that she found these paintings, these drawings, these posters on a blasted out caravan that she stumbled upon during her journeys. If true, this means that at some point, the citizens of Canterbury Commons were forced to migrate to the Boston area, where their caravan got plundered by raiders or gunners, who only left these worthless paintings behind. What became of young Derek Passion? Was he even a boy when this event occurred? We don't know. But Isabel Cruz carried on his legacy, even though she botched it horribly. Just outside of her chambers, we find a button on the side of a coffee maker. This opens up a secret passage that has some minor loot inside. We find a missile launcher, a couple of missiles, a safe filled with goodies, a drawer filled with mentats, and it's here that we find the observation terminal. I read the contents of this terminal in yesterday's video, so click here to watch it. Heading back out and turning right, At the very end, we find the storage area where Isabel had a robot workbench set up, and we find a power armor workbench, an armor workbench, and a weapons workbench. On one of the consoles, we find the spotlight schematics. This gives us a new wall-mounted defense spotlight that we can put in our settlements. And next to this console is a terminal labeled Hubris. In this terminal, Isabel Cruz channeled the Mechanist, and we get to see some of the tests and scenarios she went through when preparing for her assault on the Commonwealth. In her first note, she clearly names raiders and gunners as the targets of her venture. She's creating robots to eliminate raiders and gunners and provide safety for settlers. She ends by saying, "The day is near where we can truly focus on rebuilding the Commonwealth." In her following logs, we see how she responds to the deaths of her robots. The robo-brains keep reporting that you, the sole survivor, are killing her robots, and so she amps up production to compensate. In her robotics records, we see that she's really freaked out by the idea of killing another human being, even if that person is a raider. She struggles with trying to find the best way to program her robots to correctly identify hostile raider threats. She ends her first note by saying, "I've never intentionally killed anyone, and these bots are sort of built to do that." She's clearly nervous about the idea, but she still wants to help the Commonwealth, and robots are all she knows. She managed to program the robots to correctly detect hostility when somebody wields a weapon, but she was struggling with programming the robots to dismiss innocents who just happened to be wielding weapons. Like if a settler picked up the gun that a raider dropped, how could a robot distinguish that person from a true raider? Instead of releasing the robots at that time, she held back on production until she could work out that bug. She says, "It's possible that my robots will miss some hostiles, judging by appearance, but better safe than sorry." It was more important to her that she killed fewer enemies if there was even a chance that she could possibly kill innocents. In the next entry, she finally managed to get her robots to correctly identify hostiles, and she talks about getting ready for a live test, which made her really nervous. And in the next entry, we see the results of that live test. She found a raider camp, and luckily enough, raiders tend to all dress the same way. She sent in her robot allies, and they eliminated all the threats. She's excited that this initial round of testing worked well, but she ends by saying, "I'm not sure if I'll sleep tonight. Raiders may have murdered a lot of people in my old settlement, but for me to be responsible for taking lives, she can hardly bear it." The entries on this terminal, I think, are proof that the Mechanist was telling the truth. It's not like she wrote these in preparation for our visit. She didn't even know we were coming. She really was trying to help the Commonwealth. She thought that her robots were only killing raiders and gunners, and she truly is genuinely horrified at the thought of killing innocent settlers. But the fact is that she did. I think there are 3 ways that we can resolve this. The first is the pragmatic way. The pragmatic solution is to leave her alive. With her alive, she becomes a very useful vendor. We can get much of the scrap shipments we need for our settlements from her, this one person. This saves us a lot of time. The second option is the just option. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Isabel Cruz killed, Isabel Cruz should be killed. I don't think anyone could argue that killing her is justice. And this is the option that I would choose if the world of Fallout 4 had a justice system, where citizens of the same country could hold each other accountable, where everybody followed the same set of laws. Whatever the lawful punishment was for the inadvertent murders that Isabel Cruz committed, I believe she should suffer. That might be execution, it might be imprisonment, but it's under the law, and Isabel would be judged by a jury of her peers. But in a world that does not have a justice system, in the crazy, mixed-up post-apocalyptic world of Fallout 4, I prefer the third option. The third option is the merciful option, and I think this is the most moral option. Because I don't think good justice should be blind. I don't think good justice should ignore the circumstances and motives behind behavior. Yes, there is the black and white reality that Isabel Cruz killed people, but she clearly didn't mean to. It was a horrible, tragic accident, and it's something that she is sorry for. She's mortified by the thought that she actually killed innocent people. I do think that it is moral to kill Isabel Cruz. She kinda does deserve it. It is just to execute her. But I think it's a greater good, it's a more moral option to be merciful towards her and to let her live so that she can mature as a human being. Ada is right when she says that we don't know what she'll do in the future. It's possible she could retrace her steps and try to do this whole thing all over again. But it's also possible that she could do something right, that she could work with the sole survivor to make better decisions, that she could aid the sole survivor or other settlers with their everyday lives, that she could still be a force of good in the world. I don't know if she could ever do enough good to counteract the evil that she's already done, but if she were gone from this world, if she simply vanished, then there's no possibility that she could ever do good again. And I think a world where she exists with the ability to possibly do good is a better world, and so that option is the most moral option. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is just one man's humble opinion. What is your opinion? What decision did you make? Did you execute Isabel Cruz? Or did you let her live? Did you like the way that Bethesda tied this event in with the Mechanist in Fallout 3? Or did you think that they should have done more with Isabel Cruz, like make her a companion? Let me know in the comment section below. I read all of your comments and I use them as inspiration for my future videos. I am nowhere near to being done with the lore that I can talk about in Fallout 4, so be sure to subscribe to this channel to find out what I publish tomorrow. I publish a new video every single day of the week. If you'd like to chat about this topic with other like-minded individuals on the Oxhorn Community Discord server, be sure to click on the Discord invitation link in the description of this video. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad that you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early with a brand new video.